It's said that cancer is a word, not a sentence. So as we observe Cancer Awareness Month, let us encourage those facing the disease. And for others, including those who are at higher risk, we encourage you to embrace a healthy lifestyle. Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Theodore Henry. Today, we explore one type of cancer as well as a popular habit among our young that may lead to various types of cancer. And on Government Matters, we bring you highlights of Prime Minister Andrew Holness's contribution to the 2017-2018 budget debate. This and more after the news.
I had a plan for my life. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be the first in my family to do great things. Then a friend of mine sold me into prostitution. You mash up my life.
Stop human trafficking. It destroys lives. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of human trafficking, call 811 or 1-888-PROTECT. Be wise. Open your eyes. Spot them. Stop them. A message brought to you by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, April 4. Jamaica's fight against vector-borne diseases has been bolstered with the opening of a mosquito control and research unit at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. The unit is a partnership involving the Ministry of Health, the University, National Youth Service, Jamaica Defence Force and the Jamaica Red Cross. At Friday's launch, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said the unit will coordinate the Integrated Vector Management Program and research into mosquito control for maximum benefits.
There was, to my mind, a natural and logical basis on which, if we were to bring all of these forces together and coordinate the efforts by all with a very common goal of trying to address the control and in hopefully elimination over time of the mosquitoes that are a threat to us, then we would be a lot more effective.
An entomologist will head the unit and coordinate work from the resulting collaboration between the Ministry's Vector Control Unit and the UWI's research. And still on vector control, the Health Minister led a team of volunteers to engage community members in Kitson Town, St. Catherine on eradicating mosquito breeding sites. Saturday's public education campaign formed part of the Ministry's Operation Mosquito Search and Destroy initiative and involved volunteers from the National Youth Service and the Jamaica Red Cross.
We have to educate and inform every single Jamaican as to what the potential risk or potential threat is as it relates to the mosquito.
Citing education and personal responsibility as the first line of defense against mosquito-borne diseases, Dr. Tufton urged volunteers to help change the behavior of those they come in contact with.
And you are agents of the change in the mindset that we need to represent as it relates to dealing with this threat. Talk to people that you come in contact with and try to educate, to inform, and to make them more responsible and aware about the threat that the mosquito represents.
Dr. Tufton says St. Catherine is one of 7 high-risk parishes for mosquitoes, adding that government is taking a proactive approach to mosquito control ahead of the start of the rainy season in June. In other news, the island's sugar producers are being urged to expand their markets within CARICOM. Industry Minister Karl Samuda made the call, noting that Britain's exit from the European Union, the removal of subsidies to farmers, as well as the expansion of beet sugar production will remove cane sugar's competitiveness in the European market. Mr. Samuda says some local producers have already been trading in the Caribbean market and are seeing great returns.
It is to CARICOM, ladies and gentlemen, that we now have to turn for the sale of our sugar with any degree of certainty. The price that we are likely to get from the EU and United Kingdom may well be too low for us to be able to survive.
The Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries Minister was speaking Friday at AmCham Jamaica's Breakfast Forum under the theme Trade and Investment, Prospects for 2017 and Beyond. And Minister Samuda, meanwhile, is reiterating his ministry's commitment to removing the red tape that has been hindering expansion and investment in the agriculture sector. Mr. Samuda says the ministry's Trade Facilitation Task Force has been working with the Jamaica Customs Agency and other entities to streamline operations while creating an enabling environment for investors.
My ministry is dedicated to facilitating the expansion of trade, both domestic and international. My ministry is dedicated to forging linkages that will serve us over time, where we will produce domestically for the export market.
Minister Samuda also called on local producers to be innovative and aggressive in not only satisfying the domestic market, but seeking out opportunities in the European, North and Latin American markets.
When we satisfy the domestic market and we save valuable foreign exchange, we must not just pause at that point and go to something else. We must expand on the expertise that we have acquired and go in search of markets overseas, and we must not limit ourselves to the markets that we must strive to penetrate.
And finally, Sport Minister Olivia Grange says government is moving ahead with plans to expand the national stadium facilities to accommodate the hosting of international games.
We are going to be putting in at least another 10,000 seats and a new Royal Box, VIP facilities, additional parking. We have a major plan that will go over a period of 5 years.
Minister Grange says further details are to be unveiled during activities to celebrate the island's 55th anniversary of independence. The minister was speaking with JIS News on the final day of the 2017 Issa Grace Boys and Girls Championships. Calabar High School copped top honors on the boys' side, while Edwin Allen lifted the girls' trophy. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thank you for watching.
Watch as Prime Minister Andrew Holness shares some of the government's plans for the 2017-2018 financial year.
This government has been faithfully executing all the strategies to bring us to the point where one day soon we will be able to better address our social and developmental needs. There is a connection between our economic choices and our economic growth. The only way to bridge the gap is to better manage the tax revenues we raise. We have to plug the leaking revenues, and that is to bring growth to the country. Anything that threatens life and the enabling freedoms and security to enjoy life must get the direct and instrumental attention of government policies and action.
And so Prime Minister Andrew Holness has instructed the Ministries of Education and Health to look at ways to reduce or remove sugar from government-sponsored programs in the education system. A public education campaign about the effects of the overconsumption of sugar will also be launched. In the area of road safety, the Road Traffic Act, now before the lower house, will include amendments to ensure that electronic surveillance and ticketing are covered.
This government is not prepared to accept the use of violence in our social transaction.
The Education Act will be amended to explicitly prohibit corporal punishment in schools, and there is to be ongoing reviews of the Domestic Violence, Sexual Offences and Child Care and Protection Acts.
This year, we will launch a national campaign to promote peace building, increase the awareness of the society against violence, and reduce the use of violence in all its forms in our society. to tackle crime requires a national effort, engaging all groups, interests, and communities. All hands must be on deck.
On the government side, security risk assessments are being done to secure banks and financial institutions. Foreign partners are being engaged for training and support in cyber defense. And ODPEM is designing a plan to continue state operations in the case of an extended period of natural disaster or emergency. On the matter of corruption, Prime Minister Andrew Holness tabled the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption MOCA bill. This will give MOCA its own statutory mandate with police powers to tackle kingpins and major criminal enterprises in the public and private sectors.
Sometimes we miss the link between corruption and crime, corruption and lack of economic growth. Mr. Speaker, the corruption that furtively slows up and even denies the grant of a permit in order to secure payment, that corruption must be stopped.
Mr. Holness also tabled a bill that will empower the Prime Minister to declare any high crime area of Jamaica as a zone for special security operations and community development measures. These measures will be carried out by way of the well-established Clear, Hold, Build strategy.
I believe that in this bill we have struck the right balance of resolute policing with respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has accelerated the National Identification Project, tabling the National Identification and Registration Act 2017.
The bill is consistent with a rights-based approach to ensure that every citizen of Jamaica can be identified and be known to the state. I have given the NHD one mandate: build a house.
In the 2017-2018 financial year, the NHT will start construction on 5,737 housing solutions and complete another 1,682 houses. 3,800 persons are expected to receive work from this $28.8 billion expenditure. For low-income earners,
I am pleased to announce the Housing Microfinance Initiative, which begins April 1, 2017.
It gives NHT contributors access to unsecured credit to repair or improve their existing homes or to build new homes. The Housing Trust also intends to provide $17.8 billion to other financial institutions for on-lending to contributors. And as of July 1, individuals who've been contributing for 7 years or more will be eligible for an NHT loan to buy at minimum a studio unit. Contributors will also access 100% financing for buying units in a NHT housing scheme, get up to $2.5 million for home improvement and $2.5 million for house lot loans. Special mortgage grants will also be provided to NHT contributors with disabilities as of July 1.
The grant is to be used to retrofit, upgrade the dwelling to make it suitable to serve the needs.
And the Housing Trust will be partnering with the Ministry of National Security to rehabilitate police stations that are in a 10-mile radius of an NHT scheme. Still on housing, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced an urban regeneration program for targeted areas of Kingston and St. Andrew.
The areas identified for the pilot projects are Kingston Gardens, Eastwood Park Gardens, and Vineyard Town. Activities will begin in Kingston Gardens, within the area identified for the planning of Government Circle.
And
over a 2-year period, the NHT will spend $4 billion on upgrading work to the selected housing schemes right across Jamaica.
28 schemes have already been identified for the Jamaica 55 project. 2,000 persons will be employed under the initiative.
We believe that every Jamaican should be involved in meaningful work. There should be no idle hands in Jamaica.
And so the Housing Opportunity Production and Employment HOPE program has been launched. Under the employment aspect of HOPE, youth 19 to 24 years old will be engaged in the Learn, Earn, Give and Save LEGS project.
The HeartTrust NTA, which has been newly merged with the NYS and JFLL, will administer the program, having been directed to develop a comprehensive system of national service corps. 7 service corps have been identified and are aligned to strategic national objectives. 15,000 jobs have already been identified, with plans to provide 25,000 youth jobs by year end.
If we are interested in sustainable economic growth, diversification of our economy has to be an urgent priority.
And with that in mind, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the Logistics Development Enterprise Team, chaired by Michael Lee Chin. A Free Zone Council has also been established to add new regulations to the Special Economic Zone, and the Customs Act is being revised to support logistics operations on the island. The state has identified strategic pieces of land to develop logistics facilities. On the business process outsourcing front, plans are on track to provide 1.6 million square feet of purpose-built space to accommodate the sector. This expansion, Prime Minister Holness says, will create nearly 25,000 jobs.
Let us, in our 55th year, recommit to making our independence really meaningful and aim for our economic independence.
We now take a look at smoking trends among teens and how we can help them overcome this dangerous habit.
Over the years, the prevalence of smoking among our youth from as early as age 13 has been steadily spiraling upward. The most recent Global Tobacco Youth Survey showed that smokers in the age group 13 to 15 increased from 15% to nearly 25% over a 9-year period. This trend is of concern, considering the ill effects of smoking.
Cigarette smoking is associated with nearly every cancer you can imagine. Cancer of the tongue, cancer of the breast, cancer of the cervix, cancer of the pharynx, cancer of the stomach, just to name a few.
There are over 4,000 chemicals in cigarettes that are harmful to the human body.
For example, chemicals that are found in embalming fluid, what is used to preserve dead bodies, chemicals which are found in rat poison, insecticide, chemicals that are found in battery. All of these chemicals are found in cigarette.
Among young people, the short-term health consequences of smoking include respiratory and non-respiratory effects, addiction to nicotine, and the associated risk of other substance abuse. Long-term health consequences of youth smoking are reinforced by the fact that most young people who smoke regularly continue to smoke throughout their adult years. Tobacco can affect youth activities and athletic performance as it narrows blood vessels and puts a strain on the heart.
In addition to traditional cigarette smoking, there have been some rising new trends among our youth.
We have observed a lot of parties, what they call the hookah parties. So the hookahs now comes in different flavors. So there's this myth about there that the hookah pipe is much safer than the smoking cigarette because the water inside of it actually filters out the smoke. But the research it actually does show that the hookahs still can cause cancer, TB, or even an STI, because most persons, when they share the tip of they don't change it. So if a person has one STI, actually can pass to the other person.
Then there are e-cigarettes.
The e-cigarettes don't have tobacco per se, but they have nicotine, they have other chemicals in it, and many of them come flavored. They are glamorized, right, because many of them are marketed by celebrities, and they are touted as being relatively safe. but not because they don't have tobacco and many of the other chemicals that are seen in cigarettes. They are not necessarily safe. They do have other chemicals. And one chemical that is seen in some of the flavorings that are used in e-cigarettes is called diacetyl. Diacetyl is a chemical that was used to make the buttery flavor that was used to give microwave popcorn that taste. It was then banned because the factory workers in the factories making the microwave popcorn got ill.
Another popular smoking option among teenagers is marijuana. But does marijuana or ganja smoking pose any risk to the teenage smoker?
The research does show that there's a big difference between a teenager smoking and an adult smoking. And the simple fact is this, is that your brain is not fully developed until age 20 to 23. So there's a part of the brain what controls the executive function of the body, weighing consequence, all of these different things. So when you start using drugs at an early age, it actually impacts that part of the brain. So that's why you do have some of the students, so if you realize they're not doing well in class, right? It's like they get very upset or angry easily. All the research shows that once you start smoking from an early age, the long-term consequences are more severe. For example, in the 30s, if you start smoking as a teenager, later on in life, when it lowers your IQ level.
The Jamaica Cancer Society cites peer pressure, stressful relationships, and unresolved challenges at home as the three main reasons for teenage smoking.
Unfortunately, many young persons are under the mistaken impression that cigarettes eliminate stress. This is certainly not so. We therefore encourage students to seek help from their parents and teachers to resolve any issues that they may be facing. Do not turn to smoking for answers.
To help teenagers quit smoking, there is the Fresh Start Smoking Cessation Program, offered by the Jamaica Cancer Society in association with the American Cancer Society.
This is a comprehensive 4-session group-based course that covers issues such as nicotine addiction, managing withdrawal symptoms, weight control, stress management, recognizing and planning for possible obstacles to quitting, staying tobacco-free, and enjoying being a non-smoker.
There's also an annual Anti-Tobacco Youth Forum held in February to educate high school students about the dangers of smoking.
Many young people feel that lung cancer in particular is a disease of the elderly and that they have years ahead of them before the dangers of smoking will affect them. So it is our responsibility to educate and to be able to tell our younger folk, don't start if you haven't started, and to stop if you actually have, because the dangers of cigarette smoking actually start from day one, from that first cigarette.
For more information on programs to help teens quit smoking, contact the Jamaica Cancer Society at 927-4265 or visit their website at jamaicacancersociety.org. You may also call the National Council on Drug Abuse at 926-9002-4 or visit their website at ncda.org.jm.
Jamaica's cervical cancer rate is among the lowest in the region. With a prevalence of less than 30 per 100,000 women, Jamaica's rate is surpassed only by Cuba in the Caribbean. If more of our women did regular pap smears, this rate could be brought down even further. Let's find out more.
It's an awful multiplication of cells out of the normal that take over your system rather than the normal cells. That's what it is.
According to the Ministry of Health, in 2010, 3,198 persons died of cancer, accounting for 24% of all deaths in Jamaica. The common types found in women are cancers of the breast, cervix, and colon. On the other hand, cancer of the prostate, lung, and stomach are more common in men. The The good news is doctors say that these illnesses are largely avoidable. And the doctors say prevention and early detection are our best defenses, even while the level of treatment and care is improving. In addition to promoting healthier lifestyle, government and its private sector partners are revolutionizing the gamut of care, with 2 linear accelerator machines purchased to provide timely and efficient access to cancer care treatment. Our most vulnerable patients are targeted to have access at no cost at centers of excellence being established at the St. Joseph's Hospital and the Cornwall Regional Hospital.
Changes in standard of living, introduction of screening methods, and public health education and promotion have impacted the distribution of cancer seen in Jamaica over the years. This trend is expected to continue, at least in the short term, as public health education increases and screening becomes more widespread.
In the case of cervical cancer, caused by a viral infection from the human papillomavirus HPV, the pap smear is considered the best screening method to date.
And the reason for this is that a screening method should be able to find a disease before it has become established, find it in the precancerous phase, be easily accessible, not very invasive, inexpensive, and universally available. The pap smear satisfies all of that sort of criteria.
The pap smear is not an actual test for cancer, but rather a test to detect the presence of any abnormal cells with the potential to develop into cancer. The result from this painless process is used to inform decisions about what treatment to apply to prevent cancer from developing.
A sample of cell is taken, sometimes even with a little brush, so there's no scraping and clipping and all of that like what the perception is out in the street.
Squamous cells, which are cells lining outer layers in areas such as the lung, hand middle, mouth, vagina, and cervix, are usually affected by the human papillomavirus. The virus gets to the cervix during intercourse and has the ability to transform the normal cells into precancerous ones.
You hardly ever get cervical cancer in women who have never had sex. From getting the virus to getting cervical cancer can take 15 years or more.
The recommendation is for annual screening to detect, monitor, and treat with any incidents or progression that might be taking place.
The next reason for annual checks is that there is no test that is 100%. You know, all tests have false positive and false negative. You could do a smear and it is normal, but something is there. But if you keep doing it, it will pick up something.
Abnormal smears can be treated in the precancerous stage by methods that include freezing, cauterization using electricity, and what is called the loop. That is, removing the bad area and having what is called a cone to abort the process. Where cancer has developed, treatment will involve radiotherapy and chemotherapy and possibly major surgery. In an aggressive move to reduce local cervical cancer cases, the government of Jamaica has taken a decision to introduce human papillomavirus HPV vaccines to protect against high-risk strains of this family of viruses. HPV vaccines are recommended for preteen girls and boys ages 11 to 12, providing immune protection from the virus before exposure.
We have 2 types. We have one that they call bivalent. It vaccinates against 2 types of HPV, 16 and 18, because HPV are numbered. And there is one that is quadrivalent that vaccinates against 6, 11, 16, and 18. 6 and 11 vaccinate against genital warts, while 16 and 18 vaccinate against 70% of cervical cancer.
Take the necessary actions to stay healthy. Get screened yearly, eat well, exercise, and get vaccinated.
This is how we close the pages of today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Keep informed on happenings in Jamaica by visiting our website at jis.gov.jm, and do stay connected with us on our various social media platforms. I am Theodore Henry. Join us on this station same time tomorrow for another Jamaica Magazine program.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.